Hi there, story lover. Welcome to part 2 of Freedom State. The plot thickens. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please do watch part 1 of Freedom State to understand the context. Otherwise, enjoy. Chapter 4. Good morning, Mr. President, Zack says, shaking his idol's hand, trying to mask his trembling nerves. Zack, welcome to the bomb cave, Mr. President replies, his grin wide. We'll conduct the interview beside our beloved creation of destruction. This baby, Recompense, will wipe the smirk off the enemy's face and place an everlasting smile on the faces of my children, he says, laughing hysterically. Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here, Zack stammers, trying his best not to tear up under the weight of admiration. Mr. President gives a satisfied nod and leads Zack to the set, a grim stage with Recompense looming large behind them. They record the interview 4 times. Zack thinks each time is perfect, but Mr. President always finds something wrong. First it is his tie, then the lighting, then Zack's blushing, and finally, even a bird outside becomes a distraction. Finally, after the 5th take, Mr. President is satisfied. Zack is eager to get home, but first, he has to stop by Paul's apartment. Paul's wife had told him that there is something Paul left for him. Hey, Lisa, how have you been? Zack asks gently as she opens the door. Hi, Zack, thanks for coming, she replies, her voice thin with grief. It's been hard, but I'm slowly getting there. Zack sighs, nodding in shared sorrow. I know, but it will get better with time. You mentioned Paul left something for me. Yes, a memory card. Let me get it for you, Lisa says, disappearing down the hallway. She returns moments later with a small memory card in her hand and places it carefully in Zack's palm. Do you know what's on here? Zack asks, studying the tiny card, wondering what Paul could have left him. Lisa shakes her head, her eyes welling up with tears. The day he left to cover the war, he told me to give it to you. If something bad happened to him, she chokes, her voice cracking. Zack pulls her into a comforting hug, the weight of the moment settling heavily between them. Holding the memory card as if it is fragile, Zack asks, Do you mind if I use Paul's study to check what's on it? Of course not. Go ahead, Lisa replies, wiping away her tears. Zack makes his way to Paul's study. The room feels frozen in time, filled with Paul's lingering presence. He sits down at the desk, heart pounding, and inserts the memory card into the computer. The screen flickers to life, displaying 4 video files. He hesitates, then clicks on the first one. Paul's face appears on the screen. He is sitting in the exact spot where Zack now sits. Zack, buddy, Paul begins, his expression grim. This is serious. I trust no one but you. If you're watching this, it means that Paul pauses, running a hand through his head in frustration. Look, don't watch the other videos unless you're in a safe, isolated place, okay? Please, my study would be the best. Lock the doors, close the windows, and put on headphones. Do it now, Paul insists, his eyes burning with urgency before the screen goes dark. Zack swallows hard, his hands trembling as he rose to follow Paul's instructions. He locks the door, draws the curtains tightly, and grabs a pair of headphones from Paul's desk. He settles down and clicks the second video. This time, the screen shows a news broadcaster from another country. Zack's heart begins to race. He knows immediately this isn't meant for anyone in Freedom State. As a reporter for the only news outlet in the nation, he recognizes the foreign network. He quickly double-checks the windows to ensure they are shut. Where did Paul get this? He could have been killed for this. Unfortunately, or fortunately, he already has been. The broadcaster speaks confidently, outlining how the enemy is prepared for the war. Images of enormous missiles and bombs flash on the screen, weapons far larger than anything Mr. President's forces have. The broadcaster's chilling words echo in Zack's ears. We have them in the bag. Zack's heart sank as the phrase triggers a memory. Mr. President's email instructing him to title last week's article, Enemies in the Bag Guaranteed. His hands tremble as he clicks to the next video. This one shows Freedom State's missiles being intercepted and dismantled effortlessly by the enemy. Zach's mouth hangs open as he watches, realization crashing over him. Freedom State's defenses were powerless. Their bombs had been useless. The room seems to spin around Zach. He clicks on the final video. Paul's face appears once more, the weight of the world in his eyes. Zach, Paul begins, his voice heavy with the truth. I know, man, I know. Mr. President has been deceiving us all. He used TEF, he used you and me to feed lies to the entire nation. Your president is nothing but a power-hungry egomaniac. Zach's heart pounds louder in his ears as Paul's words unravel the facade. I went undercover to expose him, Paul continues, but I need you to be my backup, in case something happens to me. If you're seeing this, Zach, do it for Freedom State, do it for TEF. Truth equals freedom, brother. Take care. Chapter 5. The black Range Rover with tinted windows rolls to a stop. Miss President steps out, her face weary and her movements slow. Her husband greets her at the door. He smiled disarmingly warm, though he had just finished scolding the maids moments before. A bouquet of flowers resting in his arms. Welcome home, darling, he says, handing her the flowers with a kiss on the cheek. He takes her by the arm, leading her into the garden, where a lavish table for two is set amidst her favorite flowers. Her favorite dishes are laid out, glistening in the soft light. He pulls out her chair with a practiced, almost mechanical charm. I want you to know, he begins, his tone casual, as if discussing the weather. I've forgiven you for Mother's death. It's time we put that behind us. He pours her a glass of juice, his words devoid of emotion. Miss President's face remains expressionless. I'm feeling lightheaded from the medication. I need to lie down, she says, her voice distant as she stands to leave. I'll help you, he says quickly, trailing behind her, trying to catch up as she moves towards the stairs. She rolls her eyes, irritation bubbling beneath the surface at his cloying presence, but he is persistent, taking her arm as if she is fragile, walking her up the stairs slowly. Once inside their bedroom, his demeanor shifts. He snaps. All I want from you is to be a supportive wife. Dr. Kim assured me that's exactly what you'll be now that you're back, he says, releasing her arm and turning sharply toward the door. Special dinner for two with delightful news at 7. Sharp. Don't be late, he adds as she shuts the door behind him, his footsteps fading down the hallway. As soon as he's gone, Miss President locks the door. She sits on the edge of the bed, utterly drained, her body sinking into the soft mattress. Cuckoo Clinic had been her sanctuary, away from his control, except for Dr. Kim's grueling wife training sessions, which were meant to mold her into something she no longer recognizes. Later, at dinner, she faces her husband across the elaborately set table. You said you have good news, she says flatly. Delightful, he corrects with a self-satisfied grin. Delightful news. I've devised a plan to give our people hope again, a temporary fix while I figure out how to truly avenge them. We've been working on a new bomb. I'm calling it Recompense, he says, his eyes alight with excitement. Miss President frowns, her confusion evident. I thought the enemy had bomb detectors that neutralize anything in the air. Mr. President waves off her concern, leaning in with an air of superiority. I know because I'm the one that told you that, because you are my wife. Anyway, we are not going to bomb them. We'll launch Recompense at a country further south, somewhere less equipped. They likely don't have the technology to neutralize it. Miss President's confusion deepens. And then what? He smiles, pleased with his own cleverness. We'll take the photos of the devastation, grab some footage from global news outlets and show it to our people. It will reignite their faith, showing them we've struck back. She stares at him, her disgust barely concealed. "You are disgusting," she spits, her voice sharp. The smug look on Mr. President's face vanishes and is replaced by wounded pride. "You just don't know what it means to be a supportive wife, do you?" he says, his voice trembling with anger. "You just don't." His eyes shimmer with unshed tears. "I'm doing this for our people. Their pride, their dignity is at stake, and I'm doing what any good leader would do," he says, rising abruptly from the table. He pauses, casting a final glance at her, bitterness twisting in his features. "I'll make arrangements with Dr. Kim again. You've missed a few lessons." He storms out, leaving her alone in the hollow silence of their grand dining room. Hi there, story lover. Thank you for watching part 2 of Freedom State. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like, comment, and subscribe to be notified when part 3 drops. Thank you.